Okay, welcome to our webinar today. The webinar today will be on PTC Windchill implementation with TriStar Apps. My name is Bogdan Cudzilo, and let's get to it. So today, before we begin the webinar, by attending today, you have a chance to win this laptop. The winner will be announced by email by at least July 26th of this year. So you can see the specs here, and good luck to everybody. So on today's webinar, what I'll go through is for those that haven't attended the previous webinars on TriStar Apps, just give you a quick overview of what these apps are, why we're offering these, and how they can benefit your Windchill experience. Then I'm going to be going into taking a look at something called the App Center. So this will give you the ability to look at the various apps that we have, and we'll see some examples of some of the interesting ones in there. And then I'll leave a few minutes at the end for some questions and answers, and hopefully answer any comments or questions you may have. So, these TriStar apps, what are these? So let me first go through and kind of convey what we hear from some of our customers. So for those users who are in product development, they need to quickly see, where are their products, in which state, what's happening to the designs, where are the changes that are associated. What is holding up the process? So whether you have a change process or some type of a release to manufacturing process, approval processes, reviews, what is holding these up? How long does it take to do certain things? Why are things taking too long? How can we improve our own internal ECN or Windchill change processes? And for those occasional users who don't use Windchill on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis, how can they go into the system and understand all the data that's in there? For example, at a higher level, I might want to see how many changes are happening to my various products, which products are the bottlenecks, are there any issues that should be addressed? In some cases, I might want to also see information from other systems like ERP, MRP systems, and information from PLM without having to go into multiple systems after each other, and consolidating the information usually happens in spreadsheets. And for some of those occasional users, again, they may not want to understand Windchill. They don't understand the complexities of the user interface. They've just never been into the system, and it's just too challenging for them to figure things out. And then, of course, for the full-time or the frequent Windchill users, there may be some functionality in Windchill that exists, but it's great, although you want something else, or you wish Windchill had something in the system. So based on those, from what we heard from customers, TriStar is offering a series of apps just to enhance the experience of Windchill. So whether that's filling in some gaps on the functionality of Windchill that Windchill either doesn't have today, will not for a long time, or it's something specific to your environment, or just kind of minimizing the amount of picks and clicks that users need to do through the user interface. So these apps are provided as software on demand. There's various apps that are out of the box and do certain functionality. There's also apps that some customers request fully customized to their environment. But all these apps are managed by an installer. They die very easily, so you can uninstall them. They don't affect the source code in Windchill at all, although they do plug them into the UI or into the actions of Windchill. They're very easy to manage. So you're upgrading your Windchill in the future, you can simply uninstall and reinstall the apps without having to take into account extensive customizations that in the past in different approaches were taken into the system. These apps can also work on various modules of Windchill, so the base module PDM link, as well as other modules for stage gate processes in Project Link, or manufacturing reference information in NPM link, as well as integrating with some other systems like ERP, CAD, and so on. So TriStar has partnered with Wincom. They are expert developers in Windchill. They're based in Spain. TriStar is the distributor of their apps. They are a team of former PTC programmers, so they know the source code in and out. They don't try to duplicate or compete with PTC functionality, but they will enhance what's available in Windchill, again, to minimize the picks and clicks, or give you some functionality that Windchill doesn't have at this point. And you also, in previous webinars, may have seen this page where the various apps are interacting with the life of a part or document through its life cycle. There's apps kind of on the front end that do numbering. There's apps that upon check-in or a lifecycle state change or a release will create PDFs, create neutral files, export them somewhere. There's also apps that will sit in the ECN process, get triggered by a workflow or some type of a listener in the back end that looks for certain activities and triggers some of these apps to operate some function, like creating files, moving files around, or even just presenting a different UI to extract out reports, like in the portal or the dashboard view, to kind of consolidate information that's in Windchill and present it in a different way from the Windchill UI. So what I want to do next is move on to the TriStar App Center. So this is an area on TriStar's website which currently lists about 51 standard apps that have been developed for various customers. This allows you to kind of see some examples of what these apps are. There's also additional information on the functionality of some of these apps. So you can actually click on these and get more information of what this app does. There's sometimes screenshots of what this app looks like when it's integrated into Windchill, or any kind of user interfaces that this app has to be used by the end user or presented to the end user. There's also, in some cases, some videos and images of how this app works. You also have the ability to download manuals of the installation of the apps, as well as the functionality from an admin standpoint of how to configure this app. So some of these show you, kind of how it plugs into the Windchill backend, and for the most part, the configuration of a lot of these apps is either through a setup file on the server or through some Windchill preferences from the Windchill site area for the Windchill admins. A lot of these apps also allow you to request trials. So most of these are time-limited trials. We always recommend, if you are requesting a trial, to install these apps on a test server in your environment. You may not want to integrate these into production yet as you're testing. So if you do have a test server set up that allows you to kind of test some of the Windchill functionality, you can install these apps on that, let the users test, see what the app does. If you need some additional functionality that the app comes close to but doesn't quite meet in your environment, you can definitely configure and customize these apps for additional functionality as well. So what I wanted to do is kind of highlight a couple of these apps in our system. One of these apps from the App Center is something called the Part Families app. So this just expands Windchill functionality to manage family members of a Windchill part. So this is not duplicating the family table functionality from a CAD perspective. This is intended for giving you the ability to create members of a generic instance or an owner that have just attribute changes. So things like managing colors, finishes, surface finishes, material finishes, machining, production finishes, and so on. As well as materials where you just want to change some type of or control some type of an attribute inside of Windchill that's not geometry related, right? So you really don't need to go through a family table on the CAD side just to do this, because the geometry is going to be exactly the same. The family itself is a WT part family, which just allows you to manage the attribute values independently for each family member. And each family member can also be used in different bills of materials. So then you can see, they might have their unique part numbers, unique attribute values in that bill of material. So if you're creating variants or multiple versions of a product, like a -1, -2, and so on, these are great lightweight tools to give you that accurate BOM without having to go through the CAD itself. So we'll see an example of this one as I go into my demo system. Another app that I also want to highlight is the Manufacturing References app. So this is if you are using MPM Link, Manufacturing Process Management, inside of Windchill to kind of create an EBOM, MBOM, design versus manufacturing BOM or service BOM. And you want to just quickly see the references from the design to the manufacturing parts, as well as any type of consumption or equivalency links between the parts. In standard Windchill, you pretty much have to go through the manufacturing product structure explorer or pull out in the later versions of Windchill the another structure explorer that kind of then allows you to compare two BOMs together side by side to see how everything is linked. This just allows you to go into a part or an assembly and kind of see the links to downstream or upstream parts directly from the tabs within the part page. And there's various icons that identify how the part is being used and what the quantity of those components is being allocated to, in case they're allocated to a process plan, and so on. So this gives you quicker visibility in one place than the standard out-of-the-box Windchill has. So let's go into that demo system and take a look at what I have here. So one of the things I want to do is I want to show you the part families. So the way these are created in our demo system is they're based on the part number. So I'm just going to create a new part here. So I'm going to create a part called demo part, and I'm going to put 3 X's at the end. That's going to signify that this is the owner of that family. I'll just leave it at this. I'm not going to fill out anything else. So I'll finish that off. So a new part gets created with a separate icon. It's a different type. It's a family owner part. And if I go into this part, I can create a custom tab which allows me to put in related information about this family member. So these are some new options that come with this app. They're kind of integrated into the UI. So I can turn on what are any children, what are the family members of this app. The children would be any type of derived file links to this part. Any CAD owner documents if this is driven by CAD. So I'm going to create a few children here. I'm going to check out this part, and in the actions pull out, I'm going to create a brand new family member. So here, this is another option that comes up in this new pull down. This is for this app itself. There may be other options we have here for other apps that create new information, but I'll just create a new family member. So right now it doesn't have any children, so I'll create a new, doesn't have any children, so I'll create a new child here. I'll just call it 001, and the name will be the same, 001. Now, if you have existing parts already created, you can associate them to this family part just by searching through existing WT parts you have in the system. But I'll just click OK here and create that new child member. And I might want to go in here and also create more of these. So this might be my dash 002 member, and so on. So this way I can go in here and just create my family members here. Now I can also go in here and edit some of these child members. Right? I can go in here and edit some of the attribute values that may be different from the parent. So for example here, I might go into color. This one's going to be blue. The other family member might be a different color. So for example, if I go into my first page, my type attribute is blue on this family member. If I go to family parts, this is the owner that I can quickly link to from this child. So if I go into that owner part, this one will show me that component. So if I go into that's the same one, so let me go back into the second one. So if I go into the second demo child part, I can go in here and edit that attribute, and this one might be a green color instead. So now I have just different attribute values for these different parts defined here, and I can go in and check in this family generic, which is going to automatically check in my members, child members. That's the way it's been created. But again, this app could be configured to behave a different way, as you want this. But it's an easy way to kind of manage the different parts within the system. So I've just created a family owner with two separate parts that are related to that one, and they could have the CAD geometry associated to them. There's a question that what happens to the CAD file? Can I link afterwards? Yes, you can. So it's just based on part number, so you can do an auto associate or an association command in the workspace. And if there's any CAD files with these names, you can link them directly. How do you generate these through CAD software? Really, you won't be able to directly until Windchill 11, because in Windchill 11 you can pick the WT part subtype that gets created as you check in a CAD model. But you can create these and then associate them afterwards if you need to the same kind of owner, to the same CAD model that the generic owner is referencing, or the family owner is referencing. Okay, so that's the families app. Another app that I also want to show is the manufacturing associativity app. So if I go into one of my other products here and take a look at some Windchill parts, I have some Windchill parts here created. This one here is in the manufacturing view. So if I go to its information page, there's also another tab I've created that shows me the manufacturing consumption information. So again, under customize, if I go into the related objects, I can see that app's option selected here, so I can just simply check it on, and this will show me which parts this manufacturing app is related to. So here, for example, this is an upstream equivalent part on the design side that this one, this weldment's related to. Same thing for this this upstream equivalent. So again, it will show that relation and how much of these parts are used. And some of these other parts, there's also a relation to them. Maybe it's in that assembly. So it's a child structure part being used. I can also go into, let's say, the design part, and also from there see the downstream upstream equivalent. So this one here shows me that there's a downstream equivalent part to this EBOM part, which is this one here. Now that's not the latest, it's referencing one of those, so if I go to the latest version of that, this one is linked to that other part. And I can go in here and take a look at other parts in this folder to kind of take a look at if they have a manufacturing equivalency or related to some type of an MBOM, I can see that information in the list. So if I take a look at, for example, one of my manufacturing parts here, I can take a look at the information of what this equivalency consists of. Here, for example, it's used in a design context in various versions and various states. So, especially the manufacturing to design states, I can kind of see how those are related through kind of like a where used list and see the various versions that are associated to this. Now I can also, for example, filter through some of these, show occurrences and highlight areas whether the part is allocated to some process plans, over allocated, not allocated at all. So I can see some of those statuses if I'm using this inside of my assemblies. And again, I can set my settings here to the various views of my BOM. So if I'm showing one design type, I can change these views to a different BOM type in the view column. So I can configure this manufacturing view of this app here and just extract that information that already exists in Windchill. So those are the two various apps that I have in the App Center. Now let's take a look at some examples of the App Center. So if I go to TriStar's webpage, to access the App Center, just from the home page on the left hand side there'll be a link to there, and if I click on that link, this will bring me into this App Center, which has the list of some of these common apps. So as I scroll through here, these are some of the out-of-the-box apps. Some of them are tailored for a specific use case and environment. For example, that family parts app is one of them listed here. If I click on the information of this app, this will give me some additional descriptions, what this features. There may be some examples of the screenshots of how this app works in Windchill. There's also some documentation linking in this page, so this will allow me to download the part guide for the Windchill admins, how this works. You can take a look at what the aim of this app is, and how this kind of works in the back end, how it's installed and managed on the Windchill side, any kind of upgrade considerations, configuring this app, and so on. It can also be listed here. So from an admin side, user side, you can kind of look through this documentation for a lot of these apps just to see how this works. There's also another tab here which allows you to request evaluation copies of this app. So fill in information, and you'll have the ability to test out this app. You'll get a download version with an installer, and you can install on your Windchill server. I always recommend the test server, not production. But you can test this app as in your environment and see how that would look. Some of these apps also, if you kind of go into some of these, anytime you see bundles, they may consist also of multiple apps bundled together, so they kind of all work together to accomplish a goal. For example, the content export app has a combination of a few apps together. And again, the best way is to get to the PDF to understand how it could work. And if you have any more questions on some of these apps and you need more clarifications, feel free to contact your TriStar sales representative, and we can further demo some of these apps in our environment, and kind of help you and guide you through understanding any other requirements, capturing requirements, and providing some details on how they could be further configured in your environment. So this is the App Center. Most of these apps have valuable information. There's also probably a few more hundred apps that are not in this App Center that have been developed for various customers because they required certain functionality that was really specific to their environment. So if you have any type of requirements that you want to streamline Windchill in some way, but an app here you don't see exists to do that, feel free. We can create an app specifically for your environment. It's a pretty quick process to create these apps that interact with Windchill. So let your TriStar sales representative know if you have those requirements, and we can provide you some estimates on what it would take to configure that. And again, a lot of these apps are managed inside of the Windchill system from the admin standpoint. So if I go into my Windchill system and log in as an administrator, to install and uninstall these apps is really simple. So if I go into my site page, I have another link to manage all my Wincom apps. So on our demo server, we have quite a few of these installed, but really the installation and uninstallation of these is just done through this interface here. The installation and uninstallation will connect to a cloud server that houses the software. Once you log in with your credentials, you can then download new apps that you may have purchased and install them on Windchill. Also download updates to some of these apps. So they're always being updated, they're always being revised, new additional functionalities added. So you can look at that functionality and update existing apps really with an installer that's really simple to use. You don't need to understand coding in the background and the Windchill architecture from an installation uninstallation point of view. So for admins, it's really easy to manage. A lot of these also apps have preference settings that control a lot of these. So if you go into your preferences area, there will also be an area for a lot of these apps. For example, for these Wincom apps, I might have some settings for this manufacturing representation app all listed here, and I can just tweak these as regular Windchill settings. So I can set the preferences that control the behavior of some of these apps inside of Windchill. So Wincom is making it easier to change the preferences of these either through the preferences or through a setup file on the server itself, so administrators can tweak how it works in their environment, on the test environment, before they roll out to the production environment. Okay, so that is the App Center. That is an area that you can go into off of TriStar's webpage. And any questions you have, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer those. And I thank you for your time, and have a great day. This will end the webinar.